There it is, guys. The classic, the 29-2 from Smith & Wesson. This is Dirty Harry's gun. You see some movie posters where he's got an 8-inch plus barrel, but in the movies, Clint Eastwood was sporting the 6. As you can see right here, this particular one is in some really fine shape finish-wise. These are not the original grips per the guy I bought it from, but they are true to this particular model. And I can tell you, you would not want to be staring down the barrel of this thing ever. But you can see that the finish on this particular model, with the exception of a little bit of holster wear and a couple other things I'm going to show you, is perfect. Perfect. When you purchase a firearm and you are going to be reselling it and you look at it in terms of value, oftentimes what you're going to focus on is resellability to collectors. This one won't fetch much. Here's a big reason. Somebody else's initials are engraved right there, CES. I can either change my name or just ignore it. What I'm not going to do is grind that down. It's not that big a deal. You wouldn't have noticed it if I hadn't pointed it out. But this is a 1973 model. And just tell you a couple things about it. I did use my gauges to see that this is within spec. You've got a little bit of end play in the cylinder where it goes back and forth. It is within spec. The cylinder gap is within spec. The nice thing about Smiths with stuff like end play, pretty easy fix job yourself. There's a bushing that you can actually install if that is an issue, but it's not. There's no evidence of flame cutting. It's a beautiful gun. So besides having somebody else's initials on here, which allowed me to get this thing for a steal, I need to replace this top strap. I don't know if you can see right here, but it's got the wrong sight base for the rear on it. And I've got a couple options for getting the proper sight base on it. This right here looks kind of ugly to me. And what you see right there is someone drilled through the improper sight base in order to use the original bore hole. That's not a very good job at all. But like I said, I do have a couple different options. One of them is simply going to a very good firearms gunsmith that said, come on down, I've got just about every version of this ever made. The other is I can have them custom made by a place that Smith & Wesson recommends. I just want to show you, besides the fact that this has a beautiful, pretty much 95% finish, some of the other things that we like about these older Smiths. You hear about a pin barrel, that you can see it right here. So today's modern Smiths don't have that. They just screw them in. These old ones, they screwed them in, then pinned them, which was a real good quality control kind of situation to keep from having a clocked barrel, which is a little bit of a problem for some of the newer Smiths. I know I had one. Firing pin is mounted on the hammer. You don't see any kind of hole there. No kind of hole whatsoever. But what you do see is a super, super light double action. And I asked, has this been worked on in any way? The answer I was given was no. Single action, all I'm basically doing is thinking about it, and the hammer releases. But as far as the double action, especially with a heavier cylinder for this end frame, very, very nice. Very nice. On your left, you see the 44 Magnum. This is a 240 grain jacketed soft point. So you have a partial jacket on the bullet, and then it has a soft lead point. On the right's 357 Magnum. That's 158 grain jacketed soft point, which is also a hollow point. You can see what we're looking at. They're both Magnum rounds. They both have the ultimate in power, but where you really see the difference is just looking at that diameter. You're just talking about a bigger caliber packing a bigger punch. And that's why this end frame right here is the way to go with that. At one point I had a 28-2 in an end frame. It didn't really have a good action on it. And I think that was just the particular one that I had. But as I just showed you, the action on this is really nice. Taking another look at those grips. Stocks, as they call them. Pretty decent shape. You hear the discussion about having recessed cylinders. That's what this means, what we're looking at right here. The cartridge rim sits flush against this cylinder. You've got a nice, very big cylinder cone right there, or forcing cone, I should say. It's got a little bit of erosion, which you'd expect on a firearm this old. But it's unlike some of those models, 66s and 19s, it's stout enough. It's just so doggone thick and strong, you don't have to worry about these things cracking. And one thing that you can see, this has been drilled for a scope. I'm not going to use the scope. I did get a scope with it, a nice one, $200 scope. I'm just not going to go that route. These are the kind of things that drilled top strap, which, let's face it, all modern smiths have holes like that in them. It's not concerned with strength. But what it does do is mess up your collector value. Purists don't want a gun that's been altered in any way. So between the drilled holes and somebody's initials being on the trigger guard, that's going to take a lot of value away. And because of that, I was able to get this for a very nice price. And because I got this for a very nice price, I'm very happy to have a Model 29-2 that I can go shoot the heck out of with a great trigger. If you are a collector and you're watching this, you might be cringing, saying, oh, man, now you're going to go out and get a different top strap or different rear sight base that came with the gun? Holy crap. Not me, guys. Not me. But you have forged trigger, forged hammer, all these things that guys talk about making a Smith & Wesson more valuable, the pinned and recessed. You hear that all the time, and we just showed you what that is. As well as the forged versus MIM. And like I said, a really nice finish. So I got this particular firearm plus 100 or so rounds of 44 Magnum. A very nice scope, which I probably won't put on this, and Leopold scope base. And let's just say I made out really well on that. This is a good-looking firearm. was talking to you about the cylinder and talking to you about, which we've done before. You're always going to get a little bit of movement even with a brand new firearm. Obviously something like a 44, it needs to be a little bit of forgiving as long as it doesn't split lead or anything like that. And when we checked the top strap here, there wasn't any evidence of flame cutting, and that's what happens when your gap is too big and flames more than just the normal that you see do damage to the firearm. The other thing I talked to you about was cylinder end play, and this is spring loaded, so this isn't like what you're going to see on the Colt, but you can see a little bit of movement. And I mentioned if it's an issue that you can get a bushing that you can put in here, but what it'll do is it will push it all the way back. In other words, you'll increase your gap. I did some research on this, and I don't have a concern at all with that. Now, this is a 44 Magnum. I was getting ready to say the most powerful handgun in the world, and will blow. This is a 44 Magnum. I'm not going to shoot hundreds of rounds of these at a time. Okay, I'm just not. But this gun is a bit of a project gun, only in that I have a part I want to replace. But outside of that, this is going to be a shooter. This is going to be a shooter. I can't see carrying this thing around. That's crazy. You see Clint Eastwood with the shoulder holster. That's crazy in this day and age to think about walking around with a 44 Magnum like this. But, you know, guess what? Do whatever you want in the movies. But you can see it's a pretty one. It's a shiny penny. So, you know, every time I fire it, what am I going to do is worry about how many fingerprints I got on it and stuff like that. But been wanting one of these for a long time. And, you know, this is the iconic Smith & Wesson gun. This is probably their most famous firearm that they make. When I say the most famous, a lot of people don't know it's a Model 29-2. They just think of this when they think of the 44 Magnum. And how can I resist? Go ahead. Make my day. It's a keeper. It's a keeper. Maybe you guys can help me figure out what CES needs to stand for. My only thing is you know, you got the C word, you got the S word. Let's not be crude about this. Right now, I'm just going to refer to this gun as Charles Edward Smith. I thought long and hard about purchasing this one. I consulted some folks in some of my various firearms groups, and you know, I had both sides of the fence. I think the collectors in the group said I'd stay away, don't do it. People that were worried about a couple holes being drilled in the top said stay away. I wouldn't do it. I, by the way, talked to 2 different gunsmiths about this and was assured that with the diameter of those holes and the spacing of them, that it was perfectly normal, and a lot of smiths come that way now. The guys that are probably more like me, which are, hey, get a good gun, shoot it, enjoy it, and don't worry about it if it's not perfect in every way. They're all, you got to jump on this deal. So ended up doing it, like I said, because I was able to get it for a price that just was too hard to pass up. This is Dr. Drake 63. I want to thank you for watching today, and look forward to keeping you posted on this one when we get that proper sight base on it, keeping you posted on it when we shoot it, and letting you know how that all goes. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.